Yes, after our delivery driver decided to take a scenic route around the entire western half of the Denver metro area, finally got a meager little grocery delivery. So,
anyway, don't yell swear words because you know you will, and you'll get us in trouble.
No, I just buy Rocky Flats somehow. I don't know why. I'm not concerned. I'm pretty sure they've done a pretty good cleanup out there. And anyway, some things came. Finally got something come up, and well, let's just put this up here. And well, that's different. Usually doesn't do it unless I got something shared. But when certain fans think they've come up with a new idea. And a bright idea. Oh, how about we just do a medical series set on the past door? It's like, because they got the medical ship. It's like, yeah, I'd be good. Yeah. Newsflash, Mr. Anthony Cooper. They trotted this idea out back in the 60s. Once upon a time. And Star Trek was, again, it was enough of a hit. They were looking at spin-off ideas. And one of them was setting it on a medical ship. I think they're calling it Star Trek or Starship Hope or something. Or there was going to be a medical ship, went around and solving things, and they couldn't get it to work out. Now, one of the other days I played was the idea of giving Harry Mudd his own spinoff too.
That would have been better.
That one, the Harry Mudd Space Pirate. They looked at it, and I even mocked
that one. That one I totally would have been down for watching. Yeah.
Of course, they didn't tell, no one told Roger C. Carmelto it was like sometime in the early 80s. Roddenberry mentioned it during the, oh yeah, we were going to do a show about you back then. Why didn't you tell me?
Because it didn't take.
Mm-hmm.
Harcourt, Vincent Mudd, what have you been up to?
Yeah, let's see, what, do I have that posters? Because I worked up a little promotional thing. When the topic came up on Trek BBS back in the day.
Oh, that's because you're a weirdo. Wow. So, I'm sitting here trying to cut myself because it was a crazy weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great weekend, and there was definitely. Wow, you're a bitch.
Yeah, new ticks have come into the place. So,
yeah, they started about halfway through the comedy show and didn't stop since.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yes, just.
I think at this point, Drew Lynch not considered a part of the act. So.
I don't know. I just know. His statements were very, very, very clear that he remembers me. And he actually gave me a hug.
Yeah, there we go.
So, yay, Mr. Introverted that doesn't like to touch fans or meet them. Stopped to grab me and give me a hug as he was heading out. Wow.
Let me blow this up a bit for you.
Oh, So it's an interesting weekend I had.
Let me go ahead.
Ow, ow, ow.
Oops. Pull this up here. Why is it? Don't want to do that unless I've actually got something to share first. Yeah.
So, needless to say, it was a crazy weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got back and started watching Lush Life channel again and Leon Lush.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of body cam stuff. And the story I found on what happened not that long ago in Columbus, Ohio. Oh, dear God.
Mm-hmm.
This has to be one of the weirdest police cases I ever had, where the cops literally had to hold him down and go, for your safety, tell us, are there gerbils inside of you?
Okay. Was he smuggling gerbils or suspected of smuggling gerbils?
Well, his crime spree started by breaking into a pet store.
Okay.
And they were finding them in his pants.
Better than the alternative.
And yeah.
What do you think? This sort of
Cute.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, wow.
I should rework this a bit.
I am going to have to do a group party with people and play the footage of that story that happened in Columbus for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It is that insane. It is that crazy. And it is that hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I'm watching this going, boy, that city should be proud of themselves. And just remember, this is in the top 20 largest cities in this country.
Mm-hmm.
It is in the million population range. I'm sitting this, watching this going, something is wrong. I don't know how in your mind you get to the point of what this guy did, but holy shite. Wow. So we had a busy night. We had a fun night with Drew, and he really didn't acknowledge most of my tics most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Although he did definitely look over at me a few times and kind of shake his head a little while he was talking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, woman. But as he's arguing with the rest of the audience, he had to comment, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, she's got Tourette's. I know her. She's fine. Yeah. But, like, the moment where he's like, explain, what you have to understand about us is we set each other off. So if I start stuttering again, it's her fucking fault. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Like I said, you're part of the act now whenever you're there.
Apparently.
Yeah. In which case, I'd insist on 5%. There's one I just came across just from back in January. But Alex Kurtzman isn't part of the larger bit of Star Trek beyond the TV shows. Yeah, it's.
He's not part of the larger vision of Star Trek with the TV shows. I mean,
yeah, but for fans still recovering from what they'd hoped would be a wonderful vision for Michelle Yeoh in the Star Trek universe, it's easy to point the fingers at Alex Kurtzman, who's been running the franchise for over 8 years now. Yeah, he's one. Section 31 was originally going to be a series, but that was changed to a movie, as it turns out. Wasn't Kurtzman's decision? No, it was because of Kurtzman, though, that decision was made. Because even before she won the Oscar, they decided to make it was going to be a movie. It's like, no, we have no choice but to make it, but we don't have to make it a series. Okay. Because by this point, it was very clear Discovery was not a success. It was doing active damage to the franchise, and the best they could do at this point was just minimize the damage. So it's like, okay, no, you'll need a movie. You didn't want it. Yeah, it was above my pay grade. I had nothing to do with it. No shit, you had nothing to do with it. Okay.
Well, who wants to get an STD? I mean.
Mm-hmm. And blaming part of on COVID and part of because they're scheduled doing the Oscars and the main thing. Yeah, most of it had to do with they recognize you're incompetent. Okay. When Entertainment Weekly outs you as a IP vandal, okay, because they were not mincing words when it came to like Clarice.
Wow.
And how he just goes from franchise to franchise, strip mining and destroying them. It's like, no.
Because they don't recognize or understand what Trek really is. To them, it was, well, it's popular. We can use it. It's like, no, you can't because we don't like you.
Yeah.
We don't like you. But anyway, let me ask you how you would have reacted in a situation.
Mm-hmm.
We are standing in the line waiting to check in and get our tickets printed out and get us taken to the seat, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're standing in the line. And I was shaky at this point. We've been out for hours. We've been in the crowds. We were in this big line. I had collapsed so much that I actually looked like I was between my husband and Lydian in height because I was collapsing. And they were holding me up.
Yeah, even though you're taller than your husband.
I'm taller than both of them by quite a bit with Lydia and a little with my husband. So it's like I was collapsed. My back, my body, I was not doing well.
Yeah.
Okay. We're standing in the line and I am ticking a lot. And I look back a little bit at the line behind us and I can see several groups of people pointing at us and hear whispering. And the whispering I can hear is the video. Was she in the video?
You're famous.
And I'm sitting here going,
oh shit.
This could be an interesting night.
Yeah, I think Lydian's right. That
wow.
The penis juice outbursts, drew a car.
It definitely got him some money. It's got almost 500,000 views at this point, and you get quite a bit of payout on the new ad revenue values anymore.
As I suspect, the wife is going, say penis juice again. We knew the car. And an extension on the house. So come on.
It's like, okay, so I kind of knew it was going to be an interesting night as soon as all that started to happen. It's like people in the line are noticing me.
Yeah.
And commenting. And I can hear some of them giggling and going like this as they're in line behind us.
It's got to be a good one.
It's like,
this one here. The Kurtz made it clear that the movies are outside his purview. I think they may have been talking about the theatrical stuff.
Everything is out of his purview.
As far as the larger vision of the Star Trek beyond the TV shows, you'd have to ask Paramount. That's asking a different question here.
Wow.
But it's like talking about why we haven't seen Catastrophic Green Light. Yeah, he's not in a position to really control much at this point. They're trying to limit as much as possible before they can finally drive him out. But he can still block stuff. That's why there hasn't been a Star Trek Legacy series yet. Because the response has been overwhelming. Yes, we want this. This is what we want, and we don't want him anywhere near it. But what the scuttlebutt is that he said no, he will not allow it, and if they force him, he'll do everything to sabotage it.
Well, because he's a bitch.
Yeah, he's a whiny little bitch. You realize nobody likes his shit.
I mean, that should have been really, really obvious. It shouldn't have taken this much for him to realize that.
Yeah. No, the only reason Discovery got 5 seasons because it was guaranteed in the contract. Otherwise, they'd have killed it after the first season, if that long.
It's like I get. Wow, fuck off. You have no penis.
Yeah. No, he still has control over what goes for. He and I have control over what happens within it, but CBS Paramount did not cancel Lower Decks. Kurtzman canceled Lower Decks. He decided, well, if I don't get 5 seasons, neither do they. Like, oh, really? And then, of course, we got Mind Man, a little party gift in the way. All right, that's the way you want it. Your show's an alternate timeline. When the last episode of Lower Decks, that little tidbit where it's like, Klingork, guess what? And you can't do anything about it.
Well, we're not saying necessarily that response was mature, but it was great.
That's the thing.
I'm not a fan of Lower Decks. I've made that abundantly clear, in fact, I'm pretty sure. But I can acknowledge and I can admit that response of putting him in his place is fucking brilliant.
The subversive nature of that show put it pretty much uniquely qualified to deliver that shot. Like, really? We're getting canceled? Fuck you. We're canceling your entire universe.
I think the reason I could not get into the show
McMahon knew exactly what he was doing.
Was not because the show did not respect Trek, but because the show felt like Star Trek Rick and Morty. It was the same horrible Cal arts. It had a lot of the same weird joke style that I've never liked.
Yeah.
And I could not. I don't hate on people for liking it.
Yeah.
Because I understand it actually did at least respect Trek fans. It's just not something I could get into.
I mean, I'll quibble on the Rick and Morty thing. Rick and Morty is a much more surreal show. It goes
I'm referring
very off
to
the.
the
I know
comedy style and the art style, and
that's where it came out of. He worked on Rick and Morty, so
which is probably another reason why I don't like his writing.
Yeah, and the animation style is also a lot looser on Rick and Morty. It's very bizarre, at times.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the surrealist elements. I'm talking about the fucking flat Cal art shit.
Yeah.
That's why I said it's Star Trek version. I didn't say it's the same thing. I said it takes a lot of the same shit.
Yeah.
And the things I hate about Rick and Morty are the things that are in that show.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not. I respect what it did. I have nothing against it for those who got into it. But you'd soon as get me to watch fucking Family Guy or South Park. I'd rather rip my teeth out.
Yeah.
And I know people think that means, oh, you hate. It's like, no, that means I accept my personality
it's a personal
and
taste.
taste.
Yeah. It's a personal taste thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think as society, we really need to get over the idea that either you love or hate something.
Yeah.
We can be absolutely indifferent. We can absolutely not care.
The battle lines have been drawn.
Now, that's one of my favorite things to do is not give a fuck. In fact, I mean, is that horrible to say?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. But I think it's like there's probably there's going to be no big clamoring to bring back Discovery. If there's any sense left, it's like, you get 2 seasons of Academy. And that's really more of an accounting trick to justify the expense. And it's still only 20 episodes. So that'll be that and done. Because I seriously doubt it's going to be setting the Star Trek world on fire. Because if it was a Star Trek version of the Paper Chase, but it's not. It's going to be Animal House. It's going to be Star Trek 90210.
Well,
nobody wants that.
I don't understand where they've gone with Trek at all. You're a penis. Wow.
Oh yes, and Zoe got her Oscar. Okay,
Zoe
Saldana, she got an Oscar for Amelia Perez. They turned very quickly on that movie. Okay, it's like for a number of reasons. I mean, it's like French director just stereotyping all the Mexicans as drug cartel members, and the hero is just don't even.
But don't you know it's
actor
okay?
Actor in question was a bit of a dirtbag. It's like, okay, that's it. No.
It's like this weird cross line where people either act like we can't acknowledge the cartels and the violence across the border exists, or we have to act like it's the only thing that does exist.
And that's what they went with. The only thing, they're all that. No, they're not. Okay.
And I'm saying this with the whole spectral of political debate on it too. It's like either it's like, oh yeah, they don't exist. It's not that big of an issue. It really isn't. Or it's like they're all this way, and it's like, no. Granted, I hate the whole illegal culture, but they're not all that way.
Yeah.
I do believe we have to clean up a lot of shit, but I don't know how we're going to do it. Everyone is so divided.
Yeah. Snarky J, the review of the thing, it's like just described as an affront to the very idea of movies. It's just like beyond just, it was just.
I refuse to blame actors for the movies because you don't even know how much of the script was actually finalized when they took the part.
Yeah.
Just because they're in the movie doesn't mean they support the agenda in it. And contract can require you not to say anything contrary about it. So it's like, I will not blame actors for being in shit movies.
Yeah.
If you attack the people who don't like it, or if you start calling people bigots for not supporting you, then I'll blame you.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to blame you for being in a shit movie or doing production rounds for it or shit like that. That's not. Yeah. Let's not hate people just for doing their jobs, right?
No. I mean, there's a lot of criticism for, Selena Gomez's accent. It's like, yeah. Yeah, that's not a Mexican accent. That's a Tejano accent, okay? It's just...
I honestly think a lot of these people just don't know the difference. To them, a dark skin is a dark skin.
Yeah.
Which I think is why so many of these freaking people when they're writing so-called native characters, it's just literally fucking Hispanics. It's like nothing native in the character. It's just a Hispanic character. And I'm sitting there going, that's not what we are. And again, I will get into this with even other natives. Mexicans are not Native American.
No.
There's some roots of some Native American blood left in some of them because they're a mongrel mix of the colonizers and the people they enslaved. But they're Spaniards. And that is an important distinction, and it's something I disagree with even on a lot of the native guys I follow. That to me, people sit there and go, well, that means you don't support them. It's like, no, it doesn't.
Just
acknowledging the history of how it came to be does not mean that I hate the people that are involved in it. Psst, I'm part Hispanic. I have Mexican roots too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to burst people's bubble on that. I really do. And in fact, we can't prove which tribes due to issues with government issues. But I have a grandmother not that far back who was from Mexico and very native and mixed in with the Sioux family. And because they wouldn't acknowledge what she was and they wouldn't help her figure it out, they just declared her Sioux on her papers. And that was the part they were willing to acknowledge was native. Most of it, they just called her a white girl. So even though she was a very dark, very native woman from Mexico, as far as history is concerned, she was mostly white with a little bit of Lakota blood.
Yeah.
So I know I have a mix of Mexican tribes in me. I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
So
not very good record keeping back then.
No, and again, there's reasons why these DNA tests aren't accurate for that, and there's other issues with that too. So it's not like it's that easy to just get it tested and figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, no, it's not that simple. It's not that simple. But it's like, yeah, so I know I've got Mexican tribes in me. I've got Southern tribes in me. So all the people who complained about the stuff I talk about, the problems I have with the cultures that existed in some Southern tribes, realize I could very well be talking about my own people on that.
Yeah.
And in fact, I take that into consideration when I talk about it. Wow. It's weird. People don't realize that, we're really a complex situation in this world right now.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as anybody who's a pure race of anything. There is no one who can prove that they've never mixed with another race at some point in history. No one. You could be from the most obscure tribe in the middle of nowhere, and there are some. You still cannot prove the history more than a few thousand years. You cannot prove that they did not used to interact with other people. This whole racial culture is stupid because we're all part of the same race. Bubble burst. But the other one, I love dumb people. I have a whole group pissed at me because they were bashing on grammatical error. You shouldn't be able to vote if you can't spell. It's like, so basically you're saying those with learning disabilities or certain neurotype conditions shouldn't have a right to vote. And people going, just because you have neurotype issues doesn't mean you can't spell. It's like, did I say that ever? Imply that? Yeah. Why would I say that about people on the spectrum? Why would I say that about people with neurotypes and on the spectrum? Fucking think about it, bitch. That's not what I said. I said some people with those conditions would be persecuted by this because some of them are affected by it in a way that makes it hard to spell and follow the language. Which is true. God forbid you even protect people with your conditions, right? Like, oh dear God, you people are such pussies. I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
This oral history thing, of course, they drag out the NAACP with the Martin Luther King thing.
Yeah, but they're not moving forward with him back then.
And also, like I said, I think there's some reason to doubt this story, even happened, really.
We do know that he was involved with the group for a while.
Well, with the NAACP, yeah, but as far as this one, I can't find a record of there being an NAACP fundraiser in Los Angeles in '67, let alone that she was there or that he was there. It's just that whether he was even a meeting. And the kid, and when they've asked his children about it, it's like, no, we did not watch Star Trek in the house. We don't know what the hell she's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, in the '70s, apparently there was a local station. This story really cropped up in the '80s. Before that, I mean, apparently she did an interview. And at that time, she described it as a hypothetical. What would Martin Luther King say? Again, this is the '60s. Several so he's thinking about, I'm not doing anything except, the hailing frequencies open, Captain. And trying to get back to her career in the theater. And it's kind of weighing it back and forth. It's like, the money's still okay, and it's a steady thing. I can go home with the kid every night, because she had to get. So it's games like, okay, reasons to stay, and it's like, what would Martin Luther King say in this? It's like, and yeah, she had a knack for being a mimic and a impersonation. And so in the mind, start the character, you cannot, and that's where a lot of it comes from. And realizing that the state of television time, it's like.
But she had mental health issues where she also thought things were true that weren't multiple times. And she spoke from her heart that she believed them.
Oh, yeah. No, there's not saying she was lying. But, the things take on. And when you repeat the story over and over again, you start to believe it anyway, even without the mental issues.
That's what I'm getting at. I think she had, just with her issues, she'd basically convinced herself of things.
Yeah.
I don't think anything that she said was ever malicious. No. And that's the thing that I have heard people say, that they think she was doing this to manipulate people and stuff. It's like, no. I think she just genuinely convinced herself of something that was bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, she wasn't entirely wrong, because, the state of television, you still had Diane Carroll with Julia, female lead of a series, and other things. So she wasn't really the ground in that bit, but it was the fact that she was there, and she was a bridge officer. She wasn't some nurturing role type, or a nurse or a mom or a maid or anything. That thing Whoopi Goldberg say, Mama's a black lady on TV, and she ain't no maid.
And that one, both sides operate.
Yeah.
That one's a little different again.
Yeah.
But
no, I've heard
I don't think it's a great credit to your career to say, look, I spawned the career of Whoopi Goldberg.
Especially nowadays, but to each his own at this point. It is what it is, but not.
Wow.
But it was like, and the thing is, like, that door, you cannot let that door be closed. Okay. It's like, and the version of when she told Jean that she wasn't leaving after all, and told her about, and at this point, it's like, again, this point it's a hypothetical where she might have met, what would happen if she did talk. And I think his reaction of finally somebody understands what I'm doing. I mean, I'm not talking about Martha King, I'm talking about her. It's like, thank you. You understand what I'm doing here. You're not just here because I'm banging you and Majel. Okay.
Although
that's a sort of bonus on the side. Yeah.
We all know he was a man-ho.
Yeah. He loved women as often as he could. And it wasn't just Majel, it wasn't just Michelle, it was many a time.
Almost every woman that was on set or came on set, he tried to have an affair with.
He made a move on, at least,
There was no evidence it was ever more than hitting on him, and if they said no, he left him alone.
Yeah. The closest we got did apparently get at, again, the evidence is building. They did get out of hand with Grace Lee Whitney. But to be fair, he was drunk. And he was remorseful afterwards.
There's
but
also some evidence that she actually fabricated part of that story also. Now, is it that she was doing it intentionally, or was it traumatic and her brain rewrote it in her head?
Yeah, or were they both drunk? No, it was a rap party, I think. So or something like some kind of milestone.
But I don't think he ever intended to be pushy with any women.
No,
from anything I saw of who he was.
No, generally he didn't need to. they were willing to put out, so he didn't have to force his way.
Hello.
And again, the building evidence, like as far as him and Grace Lee Whitney, it's like yeah, I think you blew it that time, Gene. But but it was also clear at that point she can't stay with the show at this point.
Yeah, and it was her who decided to leave. They didn't fire her for it.
Well, that's debatable. I don't know, because like she was signed as a regular. It was her, Nimoy, and Shatner were the regulars.
That was actually what she said at one point. She said she wanted to leave and asked to get out.
Yeah. It may have been a mutual thing at that point. It's like, I can't, after what you just did, I can't, and
Because honestly, I would have a problem with firing her because you got over the line with her.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a complicated issue. People oversimplify. And when you oversimplify issues, you do take away a lot of the context. And context does matter.
If you're dealing with Gene Roddenberry in the 60s, nothing is simple. Okay.
No. When you take one of your mistresses over to your other mistress to try to convince them to have a three-way with you while you're still married to somebody else.
Mm-hmm, with a couple of daughters.
You're not a moral principle.
No. What do we got in fandom?
And yes, he absolutely did that. They all said he did that.
Mm-hmm.
And Majel going, I about killed him.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, yeah.
And a case of she probably was not being facetious. Okay.
I think I would have knocked some teeth in for that one.
Yeah.
That's a ooh. The whole "ew, brother, ew" meme is very real for that one.
Mm-hmm. Which main characters in the prior series have yet to return since the new... There shouldn't have been any. That's the thing these idiots can't quite figure out.
Again, the problem with the JJ Trek movies wasn't that they wouldn't have been decent movies if you made them popcorn sci-fi that wasn't tied to Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Problem was that he tried to tie it to Star Trek. And it was absolutely contrary to the writing style and purpose of Star Trek. The intellectualism was not based on action. And the few action scenes were meant to hype up the intellectualism around it.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's like... I'm like, bring all these characters. Most of these characters do not belong on like Strange New Worlds.
Wow, you eat penis.
It's like there's only 3 characters that have any business being on that ship in that time. That's Pike, number 1, and Spock. Uhura should not be anywhere near that ship. Neither should Christine Chapel, and not Scotty. Certainly not Dr. Mbenga. But I think that was really there because we need a black guy. And where's Dr. Boyce? He's the chief medical officer. No, we need how about Dr. Mbenga? He shouldn't even be on the ship yet. And I think it kind of implied in Private War he had just showed up. That was 2nd season.
Mm-hmm. See, this is what they need to understand. They need to understand the reason these things occur. The reason why it's like this. It's not... Trek is Trek because it was intellectual. And while it did have social and political implications, it fell to general humanitarian.
Yeah.
It did not fall to hard left, hard right. It showed the humanity even in the most extremist positions of each. And to all the ones who always go, well, look at the Ferengis were an example of extremists. It's like, yeah. And they were actually greatly humanized throughout the series.
Yeah. And that's also not the same as the original. It was the 80s when Roddenberry started to belie his own shit. Yeah.
Yeah. But even that, they were not a negative portrayal of that. It shows them greatly growing as people and the good that was still within them even then. And the resolve and the courage they had buried underneath. There was actually a lot of depth shown with the Ferengis and their character arcs.
A lot of that's pretty good credit to Armin Shimmerman.
Yes.
because he really kind of, I really kind of let the side down when I, showed up. They're jumping around like monkeys. Like, there's something here we can do more with. It's like, what the hell?
And he is a little bit of a whiny lib in some ways, but I think he is genuinely what I would call center left. He sees the humanity in everybody.
And he's a very dedicated actor.
That's what I prefer is, look, I have friends that are very, very liberal, very conservative. I'm good with them as long as they're rational.
Yeah.
But I generally prefer people that fall in the center, whether it be right, left, or all that, because they tend to be the ones that are more open to more ideas from both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think you find the most intellectualism. In being open to hearing other viewpoints, even if they won't change your mind. And I think we've lost that heart. Armin had it.
Yeah.
And in the 90s, Avery Brooks didn't. He was the one pushing for all the over-the-top stuff for the black arguments. And the throwing in the N-word and him having a tantrum that he won't do a holodeck program because in that time, I wouldn't have been welcome in that city. And with Cassidy sitting there going, just shut up and join the party.
Yeah. And the thing, he got his thing up, but but let's get a little context here. We ain't then. This won't be then. It'll be our version of then, okay?
But
loosen the fuck up, okay?
he pushed to put that stuff in there.
Yeah.
And he pushed to put a lot of race stuff in there that really didn't fit the Star Trek universe well in the way it was shown.
Yeah.
It was playing his personal politics, and then things got worse, and more of the racial politics got put into modern Trek, and he went, you know what? Guys, can you tone this back? Because you're making me feel guilty for what I did before. And that's the position he's been having is, can we stop race baiting in Trek now, please? And it's like going, Avery, you helped create that culture.
Yeah.
Wow. I want to give him credit. He's grown up a lot, actually.
Yeah. Never say he, because talking about, him being in the show, just a kind of a general thing. Like, okay, he gets it.
I had concerns about how he handled the characters and his viewpoints in that time. But I think what I've seen from him in the recent years has shown that he's grown up a lot. And he's not that person he was then.
Yeah.
And the things that annoyed me about him then showcase the things that make me proud of him now.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I think is the impressive part. He grew up. While other people he was friends with got worse, he got more rational and more considerate to all sides. And like, okay, and yes, we absolutely need to acknowledge where people are persecuted, what is wrong, what is not okay to say, what is not okay to do, what is the crimes and the issues of the past. We do need to acknowledge that shit. It shouldn't be swept under the rug.
This is not Jolene Blalock.
It shouldn't be the hyper focus. You know? Well, maybe the picture is supposedly the person who wrote the article. I don't know.
I don't know who the hell that is. That's not Jolene Blalock. What the hell? Aria Doherty? Who the hell is Aria Doherty?
I don't know. She looks a lot like Shannon Doherty. So.
And why is her picture on here in a story about Jolene Blalock? Unfortunately, they turned off the comments on this one. So, these things. So. Weird. Okay. It's like, now, I think if anyone making a comeback here, it's going to be Lower Decks, I think, because one, McMahon already had his own deal with CBS starting.
Wow.
So all I do is get Secret Hideout out of the way, and then say, okay, now. Let's see what we can do with this, So maybe throw Alex a few bucks so he can buy the rights away from these characters and settings and put them back in the proper Star Trek setting. I think he'd really like to get a movie. Because they mentioned, okay, a new series or a movie or a thing or a movie. Or live action, that would be fun because he cast it very well. All the voice actors could very easily play the same characters live action. The only big problem was Dr. Tiana being a Cation. Well, let's see, do we do mocap or a lot of fur? And then Noelle Wells does not want to be painted green. But there are CGI ways around that. Okay. There's such that they can isolate her and just tweak the shade a bit, and suddenly she's green. Whereas everyone else just got the normal makeup. But in the I think the Gabriella Reese who plays T'Lyn, it's like, yeah, she'd make a great Vulcan in makeup. And we've already seen Boimler and Mariner in live action. And the guy who plays Rutherford looks like that. So yeah, they based the characters mostly on the live action version, though. On the actual actors. So.
Yeah.
Now the guy who plays Shax is not quite that big, but the thing is, next gen everyone was padded. So Michael Dorn's shoulders are not that broad. Okay, Let's see what else.
No, they're not.
No. I mean, he's a big guy, but let's get real. Yeah.
Do you know where I actually got to see him completely makeup free, basically, almost?
Mm-hmm.
He played Sandman in the Santa Claus stuff with Tim Allen.
Ah.
And you see him in that, and he's playing this like pacifistic, sleepy character and stuff. And it's like, what the unholy?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And at one of the points in it, they're talking to his in-laws, and they're arguing and stuff. And all of a sudden, you see him go. You were supposed to get them in the car and then put them to sleep. Yeah, but I just couldn't listen to them tell that story anymore. It's like,
no, forget it later.
So
yeah,
I don't. Wow, is there anything else we wanted to actually talk about on Star Trek?
I don't know. I'm looking around. That's why I'm digging around here. Apparently, talk about.
I'm okay doing these as short streams, and I've still got other people asking me to stop by that miss me. So
yeah, well, we're about 45 minutes. Yeah, because they're talking about trying to get Kate Mulgrew to come back live action for Janeway. I trust Kate Mulgrew's creative instincts better than I do Patrick Stewart's. So.
She's a screeching, raging feminist, and she's gotten worse since the show ended.
But she's very protective of Janeway. She's turned down a lot of stuff.
Because she's a feminist hack job.
Yeah.
And she thinks Janeway's her feminist icon. And I can't stand Janeway, honestly. I think she's a pretentious bitch.
Yeah. That was the thing. I'd be tempted if any kind of convention appearance was showing up, and do trying to do my best Peter Falk thing, dressed up as Columbo. Okay, yeah. When are you coming home and fixing dinner? Okay, because playing the Mrs. Columbo thing.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Okay. So I'll probably do a fortnight.
Bitch.
Yeah, she's got new ticks. We're gonna have real fun on Sunday.
My boobs are huge.
Yeah, that's a new one too. All right. So I'll probably fire up Fortnite later and do something there, but till then we will.
Before I join the other stream, I'm going to take a large amount of CBD.
Yes, definitely. These are little comic requirements to try and tone down the meows and the big boob thing. No. We'll talk.